Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, we're going to talk about the perhaps evolving director of football situation as I understand it. I think there are changes to the list of names as well as, potential names being eliminated, including some of the ones that people, and myself included, thought might be front runners. We're going to talk about the Rashford situation, talk about the medical side, physios, things like that. Talk about some transfer things with Olise, and some things that will happen towards the end of the window here in this final day of the transfer window, mostly outs, of course, as United will not be signing anybody. So let's get right into it. Okay, so first, the director of football. Obviously, this has been an ongoing thing for some time, and I want to separate this discussion out a little bit into the things that I can say for sure and the things that I can't, because I like to make sure that that is pretty clear. What is the right thing to do? What is, I want to provide solid information. So, earlier in January on the 10th, I said, there would be this appointment with regards to the upper level CEO within 7 to 10 days. I was sure of that and that recommendation had been made. I had no idea specifically what the name would be. And I have a similar situation now when it comes to the director of football. A couple of times recently, if you've listened to the podcast I do with Phil, as well as on my last video, I think I mentioned that following the ratification, they're expected to make that appointment of a director pretty much right away. James Ducker article from the Telegraph yesterday seemingly confirms this, that they're ready to do so, that they want it done in the next few weeks. Premier League ratification is expected soon after the vote that is on the 4th or the 5th of February, this coming Monday, in the New York Stock Exchange to it's a bit of a formality, but general shareholders meeting and vote and things like that to ensure that from the tender offer that things go through, the changes to the what do you call it, articles and things like that. It's all kind of complicated legalese stuff, not that important for the most part. But soon afterwards, once that is done, we're expected to get Premier League ratification. INEOS are ready to make an offer, at least, to look at and make their recommendations for appointments. They want it done fast. Reason being, they want, of course, to be able to have this director of football start as soon as possible, start aligning plans. You want this CEO, now football CEO, director, manager alignment, and it has to be done way before summer. So with regards to Erik ten Hag's position, of course, that matters too. They need to be able to make a decision very early, by March probably. Are you the guy for next year? Do you align with our football director and his plans and what he wants, and our CEO and his plans and what he wants? Or do we need to find somebody else? And in that case, who are we getting so we can start lining things up? That's got to happen early on, either way that it goes. And obviously, I feel it's leaning one way, but, new people come in and all of that, and it is open-ended. So, I don't want to speak with any sort of definite on that either. I don't think it would be fair to do so. In any case, Erik ten Hag is in there. But he did give a bit of a revealing answer when he said he's not spoken to Jim Ratcliffe or INEOS about his contract or anything like that. That could be simply because they're waiting for ratification. But when you have INEOS coming in and wanting to do a multi-year plan, rebuild, forward-thinking thing, and you have a manager who has 1 year left on his contract, obviously they're going to, it's a little bit of a sign. Either he's going to be extended to be a part of this process, or they're going to change managers, if you think about it. Because you don't want to get into this process and then have the manager change 1 year in when you could have dealt with that earlier. So anyway, a lot of tricky things there, but of course it has to align with the director. So what is for sure? The director of football, they are ready to appoint somebody as soon as the Premier League ratification occurs. They know who they have to recommend, of course. Has to be accepted by the person on the other end too, but they've held many conversations. How it's changing. Obviously, there's been a list of names. Julian Ward, Dougie Friedman, Paul Mitchell, Dan Ashworth, and then there's a lot of other names. Berta, there's Nepe from Bayern, there's I've mentioned Rui Braz from Benfica. I'm sure there are more names. And the guy who left Roma, Thiago Pinto. Like, there's a lot of names potentially available on the table for this. For a long time, it looked like the front runner was going to be Paul Mitchell. And that was somebody that I know that INEOS liked, that I've been talking about for a year. As of today, I don't think it's going to be Paul Mitchell anymore. That's sort of my update. I don't believe it's going to be Paul Mitchell. And I also don't believe it'll be Julian Ward. And there's been more and more talk, even if it's a little bit more like whispery and banana phony, about Dan Ashworth staying at Newcastle. I think The Athletic in one of their articles said very recently, Laurie Whitwell said, that he was telling people around Newcastle that he was going to be there still and continue in his job. So maybe you can eliminate that too. And so Paul Mitchell, maybe not. Julian Ward, maybe not. Dan Ashworth, maybe not. Dougie Freedman? Could be. One of these other names, from more of the continent, when you're bringing in Barada, who is 100% advising on this and is giving his advice. And this is an important part of this. They're listening, and they want to listen. I've said this about INEOS from the start, and it's a very important thing, and it's why when I talk about someone like Graham Potter, if you're talking about managers, it doesn't matter if INEOS like Graham Potter. They do. But he's a name on a list, and they don't intend to make the decisions on any of these things. They appointed a football guy like Barada as CEO so that he could give them advisement and they could really listen to him. And of course, they have to make the decision. But then when they appoint a director, they're going to listen to the director too. So I think it's evolved ever since the Barada appointment kind of came to pass, where things changed and there was no longer going to be Blanc, because now their ideas are a little bit different and they have somebody who's been more directly in the game recently, giving them advice, giving them direction, and telling them what they want to do and what they should be doing. And I said a little while back that I thought in the next few weeks I would find out about Paul Mitchell and his situation. And yeah, that's sort of a little bit of the update of it. Is I don't believe it's going to be Paul Mitchell at this point in time. I would say that it's now looking unlikely to be Paul Mitchell. I don't think he's the one being recommended by Barada or by people that they're asking for advisement on this, but they are listening to them. So I think, again, similar to the CEO thing, though, I cannot say that I know the name. I'm just getting kind of like hints here and there. Not this person, probably not this person, probably not this person. Maybe it's narrowing it down, but it could be practically anybody still. It could be some guy from the French league as a director. We don't know. Right? It could. There's so many potentials here. It's different, and it's hard to measure performance when you're comparing to like players around the leagues and things like that. So similar to Barada, who nobody knew about, and then you look at it afterwards and you think, damn, that's a very sensible appointment. It could be the same thing. I've been saying that for a couple weeks now, and I still feel that way. It could be one of the names that I've mentioned today. Very, very much it could be. They are people of interest, people who've been, at least assessed. But it could be somebody else. I'm just narrowing it down. I don't think it'll be Paul Mitchell. I don't think it'll be Julian Ward. I think it's already been confirmed, like it's not going to be Edwards. And there's more whispers. I don't have information on this, but there's more whispers from others like The Athletic and elsewhere that it won't be Dan Ashworth. So it's narrowing down a little bit, but I think the certainty is they're ready to make the recommendation, and it's more than a recommendation because they actually have the remit to hire once they are ratified by the Premier League, and so I think that they will. So that's what you have there. On the physio front, medical front, I've said that I've been working on a name to be somebody coming in with the departure of Robin Sadler. That was the news that I had last week about the overhaul of the medical department. And it turns out, and this is how it goes, that I don't have the name of the person who is set to come in to be the next head physio or anything like that. That is a person who is yet to be selected. They're going to look for the best person and likely appoint them on an interim basis and then hire them. What I do have is that United will be appointing a new academy physio. I don't think it's replacing anybody, but they're appointing a new academy physio, someone very highly rated, who has recently left another club. And it actually has nothing to do with the overall senior medical overhaul thing from Gary O'Driscoll. It's totally separate. Stumbled upon it by accident from somebody reaching out to me and checked it out. And it's a different story. So no new head physio coming in, but there is a new physio coming for the academy. It's not big news. It's not that important. In terms of Marcus Rashford, obviously I want to talk a little bit about his situation. I don't want to talk much about it because it has been absolutely done to death at this point. And it almost is incredible to me the amount of things that have gone on with this. What I do want to say is that obviously it's all been discussed what's happened. He's come clean to the club and all of that. There's a lot more that was discussed in his meeting with him, his agent, John Murtaugh, and Erik ten Hag than just this incident. A lot more. Things surrounding some of the overall issues that have gone on between him, the club, some of the things around there. There's some weird things, okay? And I really don't care what people think about this or about me saying this because it's information and it's not paid for, it's not given. I've never spoken to Marcus Rashford. I've never spoken to his brothers. I've never spoken to anybody like that to be given a bunch of PR and things like that. I talk about information, and there's information that I know. There's concerns around people that someone essentially has it out for him somewhere around the club. There's a hell of a lot of leaks that have come out about Marcus Rashford that are clearly not from him or his side. Even back when he had a car accident, little things. You see all these stories from the Sun that have private conversations with Bruno. Now, are those stories true? No, maybe. But if they are, who's leaking a conversation between two teammates? Who's doing that? And why is that happening? Stuff about his family, things like that. There's a lot of leaks coming out from somewhere that is quite concerning, and they're mostly targeted at him, and it's been happening for some time, and there are concerns about that. And they're not coming from him. They certainly don't paint him in a good light, and it's constant and regular. And he put a target on his back by doing what he did. It was definitely a big mistake. But there's concerns over that that I think have to be addressed, and it's just, it's one of the reasons I defend him quite a bit is I've seen and I've known about this happening for some time, and it's very weird. I've never agreed with regardless of the player, of leaks coming out against players like that from people within the club or from another player or someone like that. It happened to Harry Maguire a couple years ago under Ralph Rangnick, that there was a bunch of leaks against him, and most of them turned out to be false, by the way, and were from some disgruntled players who were pissed off about not getting minutes and things like that. And you have to be careful about some of the stories that come out there. All of that separate to the incident that occurred, which I thought United dealt with extremely well. I think personally, my opinion is that it's a sign of how things will be dealt with moving forward under INEOS, kind of all business, no fluff, dealt with straight away, not in the public eye. It's obviously not an accident, as was indicated by Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic, that Sir Dave Brailsford gave a talk on Monday then about the standards and professionalism. He obviously is in regular contact with John Murtaugh directly. He's been attending the games. So even though he wasn't meeting with Marcus Rashford, I'm sure he was involved in that and how things went in terms of addressing it, and I think that's a good thing. Now, I said on the podcast that there are multiple factors when you weigh up disciplining somebody, and absolutely their contributions on the pitch and as a worker do factor in. Anybody who thinks that's not the case need to wake up and welcome to the real world. And Laurie Whitwell's article last night I thought was really good on this, that highlighted this point about Sir Alex Ferguson making exceptions for certain players, and people have this weird idea that a locker room means you treat every single person the same. You don't. Everybody needs a little bit of different. That's what man management is, and that's what you do. Doesn't excuse discipline. You have the same rules, but they do get bent. Like Laurie Whitwell said, Eric Cantona being able to wear whatever he want, dress how he want, didn't have to fit with the thing because of this and that. Well, I'm not saying that Marcus Rashford has that same remit as someone like Eric Cantona, but you do treat people a little differently, and you do weigh up a few things, which is one, are they apologetic? Do they want to change? Do they want to improve? Are they forthcoming? And then you weigh up their contributions and how much you need them and what they've done. And I think where it gets disingenuous in the argument is people acting like Marcus Rashford has not contributed successfully to Manchester United after he just had his most successful season. To act like he's not committed or hasn't been in the past is crazy. He played through a broken back, broken bone in his foot for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Practically, people worried he was going to ruin his career in doing so just to keep playing. But more so than that, right now, Erik ten Hag needs goal scorers. And I've said before, as I said in the last video, I'm now sponsored by this video and everything sponsored by SofaScore. I put a link in the description below. Please click or scan or do whatever to download. But they made this graphic for me, and they're going to make some more graphics to help, for videos, for things like that moving forward, on maybe players we're targeting. And here's the problem, of course, that United have and why they can't afford to not have Marcus Rashford right now. This is Rasmus Højlund in the Premier League. 2 goals, 3.17 expected goals, a goal every 562 minutes, 10% goal conversion, 0% big chance conversion, 1 assist, touches in the opponent's box per game, 3.56. All of these rated practically below 20th for strikers. And a lot of it's not his fault, mind you, but United do not have goal scoring in the team. And obviously Marcus Rashford's goals pretty much carried the team last year through many moments. He needs to, and this is where he has to take responsibility. He's got to play better. The way the season has gone is not on him, but certainly he can do better, and he needs to improve. Erik ten Hag needs him, Manchester United needs him, and he needs to do better and improve. And that was the goal for the discussions, for the meetings, and for not taking this over the top was, let's put football first. This was a mistake. This was something bad that happened, but we need to score goals. We need to start winning games. We need to make a change. We need to do something, and everybody needs to be aligned to making that happen. So, let's not be overly punitive. It's not acceptable. It can't happen again. We need to, apologize, move on, and let's see how we can start winning some games. So football. Moving on from that, Michael Olise, Olise, I don't know. There's the French, is the English. Is he French? Is he English? He's both, isn't he? Anyway, I'm bad with names. He's a player that I've talked about a little bit recently, and the reason I want to bring him up again is that he had a really great game yesterday. But I want to clarify and say that from my side of things, as I understand it, he is a player that Manchester United really would like to get this summer. He's a player that's been identified. He's a player that's going to be on the move. It's between United and Chelsea. I believe he wants United. I believe that he would be available for around 50 million. I think he's probably the best value you're going to get in terms of a Premier League player who has a lot of potential and is a performer. You want to see him make sure he doesn't end up with any further, significant injuries by the end of the season. There's a lot of time for that right now. 2 assists and a goal in the cup yesterday. Great player, really good, provides something we do not have off of the right. The exact type of player I'd like to see brought in at the start of a real rebuild under INEOS. There has been contacts. I've got him really high up on my list if I'm talking about forwards for next year, and I think he would want it. Other things, is that as I understand it, there's no truth in talks about bad attitudes or things like that. He's an interesting person and a character, but does not have a bad attitude, is a very motivated, has a lot of confidence, and that's important as well for taking that kind of big step up. Lastly, in the final day of the window here, obviously we should see young Facundo Pellistри's loan to Granada confirmed. You've seen a lot of departures out there. Ahmad will be staying. There's a mixture of truths in a couple of the stories that have come out recently. Obviously, he's going to deny and not asking to go somewhere. There's been discussions about clarifying his role and whether he's actually going to play or get minutes, which he did not really in January, and I am sure is disappointed in. But he will be staying. The only other player worth mentioning, there's been some stories about him, is Isaac Aaron Hansen. He could leave. Aaron Hansen. Oh my God. Yeah, Hanson Aaron. He could leave. He could absolutely leave. You know, the situation with him is not settled. He could leave. Yeah, it is a fact. He could leave. And, you know, it's not settled. He's not right now intending to sign the contract that's on the table. That's the latest that's there. And there's interest from clubs. I think there was a report from Germany about Werder Bremen looking at him today. He could leave. And it may not be a loan for him because it's only a few months left, right? 6 months on his contract. So he could go and he could be sold. And if he is, I think it would be under the same terms as a lot of our recent sales, with maybe a buyback, good sell-on fee, things like that. I don't have much of an opinion. I haven't watched enough to say. People rate people differently. Some people say he's really great. Some people say the Fletcher kids are a lot better, so there's not much of a route for him. Either way, I think there was an expectation that to be first team minutes this year that have not come. And so, you know, maybe looking for a different route. Okay, that's what I've got for today's video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Please download SofaScore using the link in the description or by scanning that. It really does help me. It helps legitimize our platform as well. You don't have to buy anything, and it actually makes a huge difference in terms of, you know, what we do and what we can do and all of that. And yeah, I think I really like this because they're happy. They're gonna put some graphics and things together that I think will be really nice and will help me illustrate things a little bit more, so it's not just my talking face every time in the videos, though I know everybody appreciates that. So thank you again, and I'll see y'all later.